Yes! Oh, it is. It is a Monday episode, a Monday after Thanksgiving episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am Alex Donno. Oh, and already you guys are firing out of the gates with the questions. You know that I basically have turned my Twitter account in recent weeks into a Tyler Van Dyke appreciation account. And already David is asking me, with TVD on vacation, has Donno stalked him yet? First of all, I don't know that Tyler Van Dyke is actually on vacation because that guy is working 24/7. Would not surprise me. And I know it's going to be potentially weeks before we see TVD again because Miami's going to be playing in a bowl game probably around mid to late December. I guarantee you, Tyler Van Dyke, no days off for that young man. He's probably throwing with his wide receivers, working with the quarterbacks coach right now to keep fit, keep in shape. We have so much to get into on this episode, my friends, from the Miami Hurricanes and what the hell are they doing right now with their athletic director search. And is Manny Diaz just going to keep showing up for work until somebody tells him to stop showing up? Is that how this is going to go? He didn't go on the Joe Rose show this morning, which is the first thing to tell you something might be happening behind the scenes, because if he's not doing his weekly appearance with Joe, it's not business as usual. So before we get into everything, and for those wondering, I am now a Tua stan again after that performance yesterday. He's won me over. He has re-won me over. And one of the jerseys that I have, we're going to be talking with Tuanon tomorrow on the show, so that it could get us canceled. Like it could get me canceled, even more so than Manny's sneakers have gotten us canceled. You know, for those looking behind me, you see a couple of the new jerseys that I put in the rotation. I've got 2 number 11s back there next to the Inter shirt, which the Inter shirt always stays in the rotation. I've got a number 11, which doesn't have the name on the back because it was when he was in college, but it's a Ken Dorsey, the orange one. And yes, my friends, I do have the very rare collector's item. I've got a number 11 Miami Dolphins 2005 Gus Frerotte. You remember that year? First year under Saban, Gus Frerotte, the Miami Dolphins starting quarterback. And the awesome and kind of pathetic thing about that specific Gus Frerotte jersey is that's a game-worn, autographed Gus Frerotte jersey. I actually purchased it in a Hurricane Katrina benefit charity auction. And so I donated money to a very good cause. At the end of the day, all I had to show for it was a game-worn Gus Frerotte jersey, but it is hanging behind me for all eternity. I want to remind you, my friends, this show, this episode, every episode is brought to you by the official sports bar of Donno Daily, the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. Oh, I've got to get out to the Quarterdeck and wet my whistle. They have the 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. The happy hour never ends at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. This is the spot to watch every big game and every UFC pay-per-view fight for zero cover charge. We've had 2 awesome watch parties in the last few weeks out at Quarterdeck locations. We've been to the Quarterdeck Sawgrass with 5 Reasons Sports. We've been to the Quarterdeck Davie. We'll probably take the next one maybe to Fort Lauderdale or Fort Lauderdale Beach. Guys, if you haven't tried the Quarterdeck yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. The seafood is always delicious at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. I love to build my own poke bowl. The sushi is always fresh. The oysters, the Maine lobster, the fresh fish. It is so freaking good. If you go out there for NFL Sundays and college football Saturday conference championship games, I know we're running out of college football Saturdays, but we still have conference championships bowl games. You can take advantage at the Quarterdeck of the 5 for $15 ice cold buckets of Heineken Light, Dos Equis, Amstel Light, High Noon Hard Seltzer, or mix and match those to your heart's content. If you want to find the location nearest to you or peep their menu before you go, check them out online at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. And we have an official sports book here on Donno Daily, BetUS.com. 27 years, BetUS.com has been the mainstay in the industry. I've noticed in recent weeks, people were getting all excited about that app. And I think the app has already been shut down, or it's close to being shut down. BetUS has been around for 27 years. That app that you guys were excited about was around for about 27 days. BetUS, they are the 3-decade leader. Guys, and one of the things people ask me all the time, because they're so confused about what's legal and what's not. Yes, you can use BetUS in Florida. You can use BetUS.com. Go on to BetUS.com right now. And when you make your deposit, make sure you use our show code. So not only is BetUS still operational and will be fully operational for probably longer than I'll even be around, go on there and we're going to give you a huge bonus. They've got the best bonus in the industry. If you type in our code, you can see it right there, 5RSN125. They're going to give you a 125% sign up bonus. If you deposit $100, they'll give you $125 of free play money on top of your deposit. Bet sports, bet on horses, play cards and slots in their online casino. It's like having Las Vegas in your pocket on your smartphone. And props, betus.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. betus.com. So, you know what is very, very interesting? It's coming to my understanding, and yeah, Zachary B. Tua is well, listen, Justin Turdbert. Justin Turdbert is still a fine quarterback. He did look like crap yesterday, though. The Denver Broncos did a nice job. I was stupid enough to bet Chargers minus 2.5, 3, whatever it was. And bravo to the Broncos. They made Justin Herbert's life a living hell, and he wasn't good. So certainly yesterday, Tua Tagovailoa looked head and shoulders better than Justin Herbert yesterday. So that was fantastic. We're going to be talking in about 10 minutes with Alfredo Artiaga from 3 yards per carry. I will fully confess to everyone, I am a Tua stan again. Okay, I am back. I am back on the bandwagon. Alfredo and I will talk about Tua's awesome performance yesterday. Jalen Waddle's awesome career performance, 100+ yards receiving in a game for the first time in his NFL career. Jalen Waddle was the truth yesterday. Jalen Phillips was fantastic yesterday. Javon Holland gets another interception. So that was an awesome Dolphins victory. What I've been really jonesing to find out, and this is one of those deals where I'm all over social media today. I'm all over all the Canes blogs, and I'm refreshing every 30 seconds to see. And I'm also pumping people who I know who know trustees, and trying to figure out what all the leaks are saying these days. Trying to get to the bottom of what's going on with the athletic director search and what's going on with Manny Diaz's future. Does he stay? Unlikely, but not impossible, but very unlikely. Does he go? And when he goes, if he goes, who replaces him? I don't think it's any secret. We all know that Mario Cristobal would be the number one choice to become the new head football coach. He has been in town the last couple of days, but I don't exactly know what's going on there, if they were trying to mix business with what he had going on, because he came here from Eugene, Oregon to see his sick mother. I don't know how ill she is. It could be something serious, so I don't want to make light of the situation. Some people were assuming, well, if he's coming to town, maybe he is just saying he's visiting a sick relative and he's really meeting with some people. I don't know. And honestly, if I was on the Miami side of it, it'd be a very awkward thing to say, hey, Mario, I hear you're in town to see your sick mother. Why don't you also come talk to us about a head coaching opening that's not even really open yet? So I think they're talking. I think they have been talking. I think Mario could wind up here, but I don't know if his little impromptu trip to South Florida has anything to do with that. Because if his mom is sick, I don't necessarily think it would be right to approach him about a job. There's a time and a place for that. And I know the clock is ticking, but that's a little bit of an awkward thing to mess with. I know that as has been reported by Barry Jackson, hearing the same things here, that Julio Frank and his advisors do ultimately want to announce an athletic director first and let the athletic director make the final decision on Manny Diaz, that they are serious about that. I was actually told, and I know this is starting to go around the waiver wire backstage with the 5 Reasons Sports crew, that Alonzo Highsmith could actually be the favorite for the job, that he might indeed be the favorite. And as Barry Jackson reported, Gino Torretta and Alonzo Highsmith have both interviewed for the athletic director job. According to Barry, Gino crushed his interview, was very impressive in his interview. I know some of us have been told that Alonzo Highsmith might actually be the favorite. And the key here is, and let me read you part of Barry's report, and we'll kind of clarify what that role would look like if someone like Alonzo Highsmith or Gino Torretta, who have relevant experience, Gino in the business world and Highsmith in the NFL personnel world, but it's not direct experience, right? Neither of them have been athletic directors for a large institution. So the key isn't just them coming in or one of them coming in, but who they bring with them is the key. So Barry Jackson wrote this morning, a source involved in the process said over the weekend, I'm going to give you a couple of excerpts of this. If you want to read his full story, knock yourself out in the Miami Herald. It's a good piece. I'll read you a couple of highlights here. A source involved in the process said over the weekend that the search has been narrowed down to a fairly limited group. This is for AD. Among those who have interviewed to replace Blake James, former stars Gino Torretta and Alonzo Highsmith. If Highsmith or Torretta is hired, either likely would receive considerable help from a career administrator. It hasn't been revealed what official title a football intensive administrator such as Highsmith or Torretta would be given. Either could be given the AD job with a number two carrying more responsibility than is typically the case. This whole thing revolves around football, a source said. And you know what? I'm okay with that, right? Because listen, I'm also a basketball fan and a baseball fan, but football is the most important. And the pattern tends to go when football is up, there's a trickle down effect to other sports. That if football is in the shitter, it's hard for anybody else to thrive. That when football's up, some of that, it's like, what is it, the Keynesian economics? I know some people don't believe in that. I have no idea if I do or don't. What the fuck do I know about economics? But the whole trickle down economics, I think it might actually work when it comes to the football program. I guess I deserve that. I'm going to turn this into an economics chat, and I'm going to pretend that all I know is all my money's in crypto. That's my economics plan, and I hope it works out for me. If it doesn't, oh well, I tried. Okay, the whole thing revolves around football. A source close to the situation said, "quote unquote," nothing else. So it all revolves around football. Let's make football great again, and then hopefully basketball and baseball and women's tennis and soccer and all that other stuff falls into place. Barry writes, career administrators who are familiar with the South Florida market include, among others, Washington State Athletic Director Pat Chun, the former athletic director at Florida Atlantic, Texas Tech Deputy Director of Athletics, Tony Hernandez, who previously worked at We talked about him a couple weeks ago. Current FAU AD Brian White, and New Mexico Athletic Director Eddie Nunez, who grew up in Miami and has interest in the job. So there you have it. It's starting to look like a couple of the top candidates right now could actually be Alonzo Highsmith and Gino Torretta, but they would bring a career administrator with them to help out with, some of the day-to-day stuff about the AD job that they may not understand. But the belief is that both of them obviously understand what it takes to prioritize football. And either of them would prioritize football if they were here. So it sounds to me like Alonzo Highsmith might actually be the favorite, and that he plans to bring a kick-ass partner with him, a kick-ass number two, a kick-ass administrative guy. So then the question becomes, what do you do with the coaches now? For the crowd that wants to retain Diaz, there's a few of you, you know who you are. For the crowd that wants to retain Manny Diaz, your deck is getting weaker here. All right, when you talk about what he would bring to the table another season. You've just lost Rhett Lashley officially. My man Rhett, who was the bright shining star of this coaching staff, former Miami offensive coordinator, is on his way back to SMU as the conquering hero. He's their former offensive coordinator. He's back to SMU now as their head coach with Sonny Dykes moving on. So you've lost Rhett Lashley. Rhett Lashley looks to be taking with him a couple of other important offensive coaches. Rob Likens, the wide receiver coach, who Manny Diaz probably would have replaced Rhett Lashley with, is apparently going with Lashley to SMU, as is Garen Justice, the offensive line coach. So not only is Lashley leaving, and he's taking a couple of graduate assistants with him as well, I was reading. So not only is Lashley leaving, but he's stripping all the parts away from that offensive coaching staff. And you already don't have a defensive coordinator because your defensive-minded head coach has taught these guys how not to tackle and has been doing just a dreadful job. Miami's defense was brutal, right? Now, you can give Diaz credit for hiring Rhett Lashley. You can. His previous hire, Dan Enos, was a bust. His previous defensive coordinator before he took over duties was Blake Baker. I didn't think it was possible that they could make me miss Blake Baker, but somehow that defense got worse, okay? So, yeah, Diaz did do a good job once bringing in a coordinator. Rhett Lashley turned out to be a great hire. Swung and missed on the other coordinator hires he's made since he's been here. And if he's staying, yeah, he would have to replace Lashley and a couple of other important assistants that are following him to SMU. And I don't see how you could let Diaz do another year without a defensive coordinator. If they were to retain Diaz, not expecting it, but I'm just throwing it out there. If they were to retain Diaz, you've got to tell him, hey, we are increasing the budget for athletics. We want to invest more in the football program and all the other programs. And yeah, now you've got to go out and get yourself a defensive coordinator. So I know a lot of you don't trust Manny Diaz, even with the coaches he's had. But then next year, if you retain him, you're also asking him, hey, you need to replace your offensive coordinator, your wide receivers coach, your offensive line coach, probably a couple of others who could leave, and you need to hire a defensive coordinator. It's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. You're basically starting fresh anyway. You might as well start fresh with a new head coach. Now, you're up against the clock here, right? Because you'd like to have an AD and a head coach in place before December 15th. That's early National Signing Day. Not that you would expect a ton of new commits, but you do want to clarify for the ones you have, maybe get a couple at the last minute and work the transfer portal, because that's going to be a huge part of the class next year. So you need to know who's coaching the team by then. And apparently they're not going to hire a coach or fire their coach until they have an athletic director. So those are a couple of very important dominoes that have to fall into place. And also, you see what's happening around the country, right? I mean, USC makes a big move for Lincoln Riley, which means Oklahoma needs a coach. LSU, Florida got their guy in Billy Napier. Even Temple fired their coach. That could be a nice soft landing spot for Diaz. He's got 0 losses at Temple. He's the only undefeated Temple head coach in history. So maybe they should bring him home. But you have a number of other schools acting swiftly, firing and hiring coaches. Even Duke fired their coach the other day. I mean, I didn't even realize the people who run Duke even cared who was coaching their football team as long as the GPAs stay up. But apparently they do care when they go 0-8 in the ACC. So they're even making moves. So, you know, Miami can't sit on their hands any longer. You need to get these moves done quickly. All right, let's bring on our first guest of the day. One of our absolute favorites here. And I confess to Alf, and I don't mean to say it as if this is something I'm ashamed of. I'm actually proud that I am officially, Alfredo, I am fully back on the Tua Tagovailoa bandwagon. Because I was saying it all week last week that, okay, you did some good stuff against the really crappy New York Jets defense. Show me something special against the number 1 pass defense in the NFL. And Tua was phenomenal. He had the same number of incompletions yesterday as Lamar Jackson had interceptions for the Ravens game. Only threw 4 incomplete passes, was making fantastic throws. No interceptions yesterday, because I know he's thrown a few suspect interceptions this year. Personally, and you know, tell me if I'm wrong, because I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment here. You know, he's now got 16 NFL starts in the books. You can kind of say this is like the official, end of his rookie season. And I know he had a couple of good performances last year, like the comeback against Arizona. But I thought yesterday was Tua Tagovailoa's best performance in a Miami Dolphins uniform. Do you agree?
It could have been. I'm not sure about that. I still think that Arizona game had it had some juice, because you were going up against a former rival of his, a guy that won a Heisman under his nose, who was a finalist along Tua Tagovailoa. So, you know, there was a lot of juice to that game. And you could even tell after the game, Kyler Murray didn't want to shake hands with Tua. He just walked off the field.
Forgot about that. You're right.
Okay, so those are 2 guys that had, I wouldn't call it bad blood, but, you know, a healthy rivalry. So I still have that one there. But make no mistake, like, I heard people trying to make excuses for the Carolina Panthers. That's a stacked defense.
Yes.
They are absolutely loaded from head to toe. They have great ends, good linebackers, one of the best secondaries in football, a secondary that is as good or even better than Miami's. So that was a really good defense that he cut up yesterday. So, and as my partner on 3 yards per carry, he tweeted out, and I think this might be the best tweet of the year. Okay, he tweeted out, Tua Tagovailoa Tagovailoa, that's his real name, right? Has
I'm
more
amazed. I'm amazed you can pronounce that first name because I've been
I
practicing the
practiced
last
it.
name for years. The first name, I shake in fear when I see it.
Well, he tweeted out that name has more vowels than he has incomplete passes over his last 3 games. And it's true. I checked it out. Okay.
Wow.
I checked that out. I did a little digging and absolutely. Yes.
Wow.
So he's been magnificent. There's no other way to say it. And then the defense is carrying their end of the bargain, and this team is starting to look like the team we expected to see from day one.
Yeah. So and something like what do you think it is with Tua? Is it getting the experience under his belt? Is it getting more time with his teammates? Because and what he's still doing, Alf, it's not like the offensive line has gotten better or dramatically better. Like he's playing so much better and looking so much comfortable behind the same crappy offensive line. Like we always knew the accuracy was there with Tua. I think a big thing for me when you compare Tua from the rookie season to Tua of the second year is there's no more hesitation because that was the big thing with him last year. Like you could see rookie year when Tua was on the field versus when Fitzmagic was on the field. Fitzmagic was so decisive in his reads and in his throws, where Tua, I think, was waiting for his wide receiver to have 3 steps open before he would make a decision. He's letting it rip this year, but he's letting it rip in a way where he's also very accurate and careful with the football.
Yeah, I think last year they started having some success, and they started noticing, like, you know what, if our offense doesn't turn it over and they just, if they're just wallpaper, okay, and they just score when they're handed the football at the 30-yard line, then we're fine. I think Tua last year bought into that, and he was being a good soldier. I think Brian Flores got a little nervous last year as he was coaching. He was like, you know what, we might even make the playoffs. Let's not screw this up. Let's not do anything stupid. I need you to play this way, and Tua played his act. He did his job the way he was asked to do. Now, that Arizona game last year was a little bit different. They were going up against a high-powered offense that was going to score a lot of points. The defense wasn't all that great in that game, and they needed Tua to score, and they kind of cut him loose. And then you saw what you got. This year it's a little bit different. This year they're letting him do what he can do, and the offense. Look, we've made fun of of the Dolphins having a Politburo of offensive coordinators, but that committee is getting the job done as of late, because I kind of love the play calling the last few
Yes.
weeks.
I saw you tweet that yesterday, and I had to sit back and admit, you know what? Maybe they finally have enough offensive coordinators that they might have added a third or a fourth that we didn't know about, because they're doing something right now.
Whoever that guy is that they added to the Politburo, like I called him yesterday, that guy's doing a hell of a job, because yesterday there were some calls that I didn't expect. That I saw, Durham Smythe go under center, and he did the sneak, and Carolina just stared at him like, "What are you doing? You just got a yard on us on 3rd and 1, and we didn't expect it." And I was thinking to myself, that is just genius stuff. On 4th and 1, they run a toss play with the fastest running back that they have, Savon Ahmed. Who would have known that if you used your best players in the roles they're probably best at, that you would get results? And guess what? They got results. So far, so good. They're rolling 7s and 11s as of late. I love what they're doing with that offense.
By the way, the last time I hosted this show was this past Wednesday. So 5 days ago, I was still a Tua skeptic. I wouldn't call myself a Tua hater. I was a Tua skeptic. I am a full-on Tua stan. I am a radicalized Tua stan. And so comments like this that I would have chuckled at last week deeply offend me now. Like this is the sort of rhetoric I will no longer allow on this forum. He throwing 5-yard passes, bro. And then Mr. Pierre follows it up. Y'all making the mistake of thinking we don't know what good QB play is. I'll tell you what good QB play is. The guy who puts on that number 1 jersey in aqua and orange. That's good QB play. If you wanted to watch crappy QB play, I hope you watched that loser Justin Herbert look like a train wreck yesterday. That was crappy QB play. Number 1 in aqua and orange, all I needed to know. And Alf, how spoiled are we? Because you're a Hurricanes fan as well. I got to watch Tyler Van Dimes on Saturday. Then I got to watch the god himself, Tua Tagovailoa, on Sunday. I don't know if I've ever, the last time I was this fulfilled was probably back in like the 90s when I was watching like Gino Torretta on Saturday and Dan Marino on Sundays. Like I am feeling great with the local quarterback.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know about you, but did you see the preview that ESPN did on the 2022 college football season? And
No.
the 5 guys they listed as Heisman candidates? I don't want to, I don't want to, spoiler alert, but one of them plays in Coral Gables, and his name is not De'Aaron King, because De'Aaron King is in the USFL maybe next year. TVD is a Heisman candidate according to ESPN next year. Now, can we screw this up? Yes, we could easily screw this up. Okay, maybe Manny Diaz comes back. All right, but just get me Lane Kiffin here. Like,
please.
let's stop pussyfooting around. Let's just get Lane Kiffin here. I think Mario Cristobal, that's a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. Oregon is, first of all, Oregon's just going to unload a mountain of cash on him if he even thinks about leaving. Let's just get Lane Kiffin down here. We know what he could do with quarterback.
Well, so let me ask you it this way, though. If all things were equal, if they both wanted the job, would you rather have Mario or Lane?
Wow, that's a tough one, right? It'll be a great problem to have. I would want Mario for one very, very big reason. Mario Cristobal is considered, and widely considered, the best recruiter in all of college football. So much so that Nick Saban turned over his entire recruiting department and budget to Mario Cristobal when he was there. So that's kind of a no-brainer, right? But if you can't get Mario Cristobal, Lane Kiffin is a dream to have.
Yeah.
Look what he's done with Matt Corral. Guy knows how to work with quarterbacks. You hand him a Heisman candidate, he's going to get him to that podium in December next year. So, yeah, absolutely. And who wouldn't want to have a Hurricane win the Heisman as a quarterback?
Oh, man.
Last one was what? Was
Gino.
it Torretta? It was Torretta,
Gino.
and then it was Vinny before him, right?
Yeah.
So he'll be the third.
Oh, man. And yeah, and I agree with you. I think if they could get either, then I think big picture Mario would be better. But talking about TVD and the quarterback room, then my man Lane, the Lane train. I don't think Miami can go wrong either way. Let's go back to the Dolphins. I was actually pretty impressed, and I know he didn't get a huge workload, but with the Dolphins' debut of Phillip Lindsay, not only did he run hard, Alf, but my guy, I think a mutual friend of ours who joins us on Wednesdays, Big John Stud, who I was talking with him this morning, and then I went back and watched some plays. He's one of these geeks that doesn't watch the ball. He just, he watches like the blocking. I'm a ball watcher, okay? So if I want to watch blocking and all that, I've got to go back and watch a second time. Like I'm sitting there, the game is live. I'm looking at the football. I'm not necessarily looking at the right guard, but if something happens, I'll go back and watch it. But he told me to go back and watch the long pass, the 57-yarder from Tua to Jalen Waddle, but not to watch the ball, to watch Phillip Lindsay, who picks up this blitz and threw a big-time block on Hassan Reddick. And like I was really, really impressed, and that's the type of stuff you don't see often enough from Myles Gaskin. And Phillip Lindsay, this guy just got off a plane in South Florida a few days ago. They throw him in there on Sunday, and I thought he did a nice job, man. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought so too. And when we released our latest 3 yards per carry this afternoon, we talked about it, and we really, we kind of like this group as the RB2s for next year. All of these guys do their jobs as asked very, very well. Now, what is missing? They need a lead back. It's obvious they have a bunch of RB2s on this team. Good ones, but they're RB2s nonetheless.
Right.
So they need a lead back. Phillip Lindsay was a breath of fresh air. I don't know if you saw his quote to Marcel Louis of ESPN, but it was a great quote where he basically said, I'm crazy and I love pass blocking, and I don't want Tua's family looking at me after and saying you're the guy that got him killed.
That is an awesome quote.
You know what I mean? So yeah, absolutely. And and by the way, all of this whole narrative, and I just got to say this because I had one listener send me something. Dr. Keith Box, who's a longtime listener of 3 yards per carry, huge Mississippi State fan. He tweeted this out to me. Completed air yards per completion this season. Justin Herbert, 5.6. Mac Jones, 5.4. Tua Tagovailoa, 5.4. So, yeah, he's completing at a higher rate and throwing just as far as those guys. So watch the games. Stop buying into the dumb narratives, okay? Because it's getting a little bit embarrassing out there.
Yeah, I have reformed. I used to be a big time narrative guy. And in fact, Alf, I'm so reformed. We're having Tuanon on the show tomorrow, assuming Soros or Hillary doesn't shut us down. Like I'm trying to keep this underground. I'm going to be chartering a fishing boat tomorrow. Because I got to get into international waters, because I'm pretty sure the conversation I'm going to have with Tuanon, it's probably illegal in Florida and in most other states. So we're going to be having the conversation on international waters. We're going to test out his voice modulation beforehand, because I do not want, and I don't want to know who it is. I have no idea who's behind Tuanon.
Well, that's how it works. It works if we never find out who that guy is.
Right, because if I do find out, that probably makes me an accessory to something. And
then about 15 years from now, Tua at the podium in Canton, as they're putting his bust, he reveals it was him all along. That was Tua. That would be the greatest thing ever.
That would be so awesome. Oh, that would only add to the legend. We got to talk about the defense yesterday, Alf, especially the rookies. I've been singing the praises for several weeks of Javon Holland, who gets himself a pick yesterday, and Jalen Phillips, who records 3 sacks to bring his total up to 6.5 in his rookie season. I'm old enough to remember, back in September when they're all worried about Jalen Phillips and, oh, look at what Greg Russo is doing up there. But I don't think Russo's had a sack in like 2 months, and Phillips is out there balling. So, I mean, that pick is absolutely validated. What have been the big differences with Jalen Phillips in recent weeks?
I think that it's the role. They had him rushing wide, earlier this season, and it wasn't working for him, especially on third down, because the Dolphins want you to rush to a point and not rush like you would rush in a 4-3 flex, which is where he comes from at the University of Miami, right? So he was kind of hugging the tackle and try to beat him around the edge with power and with technique. Dolphins don't want that. They want you to rush as wide as possible to allow as much space as possible in the middle of the field for the tackles and for the linebackers to run their A-gap blitzes and their 1-4 stunts, right? So they did a very subtle change. They decided, you know what? With Jalen Phillips, we're going to start rushing him in 3-tech, which is inside defensive tackle, right in between the guard and the tackle, right? We're going to rush him on the opposite side of Agba, and we're going to reintroduce Andrew Van Ginkel to rush that wide style. And Andrew Van Ginkel just does the job, and he opens up things for Jalen Phillips to get one-on-one inside. And he has been a bear to block as a 3-tech. Like, he's almost unblockable. And yesterday you saw the fruits of that labor. He was everywhere. He had the 3 sacks. He should have had a 4th that Christian Wilkins got, because PJ Walker, for whatever reason, ducked under Jalen Phillips for that 4th sack. And Jalen Phillips ended up tackling air. But he was really close to a 4-sack game. And ESPN has still not talked about it, although they've done like 3 lists of the top rookies this year, and they've mentioned Micah Parsons everywhere, and they've mentioned Greg Rousseau, who oddly enough has 3 sacks, and all 3 sacks I believe were against Jesse Davis.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I mean, listen, if he could go up against Jesse Davis 17 times a season, you have like 40 sacks. Unfortunately for him, that's not the way scheduling works.
So he's coming along nicely. I know a lot of people were trying to get ahead of themselves and start talking about defensive rookie of the year. I'm sorry. That belongs to Micah Parsons. That guy's a beast this year. And he's actually a difference maker. He's like in the conversation for defensive rookie of the year. I mean, for defensive player of the year. So I think he's just developing really, really nicely. You can't help but be really excited for Jalen Phillips next season, because next season could be the year where we're talking all pro.
Yeah.
But Javon Holland, I think he's already there.
Nice.
Like, he continues this. How is he not a Pro Bowler? Can you name me 4 safeties better than him?
No.
In the AFC? And one of them cannot be Minkah Fitzpatrick, who has been absolutely horrific this season. So, yeah, Javon Holland's already here. Jalen Waddle's already here. And Jalen Phillips is getting there. So this has been a pretty good draft class.
Let me ask you, Alfredo, because you're a lifelong Dolphin fan. Do you see one of the jerseys that is hanging behind me? Do you know who that is?
Gus Frerotte played here 1 year. His offensive coordinator was Scott Linehan,
That's
one of the
right.
best offensive minds ever.
That's
Under
right.
Nick Saban, they
Yep.
went 9-7. Gus Frerotte
Yep.
was
Yep.
actually
Yep.
pretty good that
Now,
season.
now, would
It
you
was his
believe me?
lone season here, I believe.
Yeah. Now, you probably think it's crazy enough that I may be the only person on planet Earth who has a Gus Frerotte Dolphins jersey. This is actually a game-worn, autographed Gus Frerotte jersey. He wore it
Nice.
in a game. I think it was a loss that season against the Atlanta Falcons. I bought it in a Hurricane Katrina charity auction, so I donated money to a very good cause,
Mm.
hurricane relief. But then I realized I probably should have just given them the money and not bought a Gus Frerotte jersey. Like,
Yeah.
I should have just paid for the relief because I have this. I've never worn it because it's game worn, so I'd feel weird putting it on. But it is a game worn autographed Gus Frerotte jersey. I found it in the closet today, and I thought, let me display that one loud and proud today.
Scott Linehan got a job as the head coach of the St. Louis Rams right before they got Dick Vermeil and they won a Super Bowl. He got the job basically off of making Gus Frerotte look competent.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Huge stuff here as always. And Alfredo, you mentioned, man, that you guys it was an early drop today. I don't know if there's a reason. Maybe you just couldn't wait to talk about that win yesterday, but you dropped 3 yards per carry early today. Why'd you drop it early, and where can people find it?
We dropped it early basically because Simon told me, hey, I can do early today. And I asked Chris, hey, can you do before 1 o'clock? And he said, yeah, let's do before 1 o'clock.
Nice.
And I said, you know what? I want to watch that horrible game tonight on Monday Night Football. So
Oh
I
my
guess
God.
we'll do it. We'll do the show early. But yeah, you could go to our Twitter account, or you could just pop in 3 yards per carry on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. We're everywhere.
Yeah, and that's true. I can't avoid it. Like I'll some days I'll be like, I don't really feel like listening to 3 yards per carry today, but it's on every platform. So let me just go ahead and pop that on. Alfredo, I can't thank you enough, man. Awesome stuff as always. You enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy that terrible game tonight.
Thank you for having me, Donno.
Always. And you know what? The thing is, if you're an avid sports bettor, there really are no terrible games. Okay. So Thanksgiving Day, the 12:30 p.m. game, Lions and Bears. I'm watching it with, my family members, people over at my house, and my father literally fell asleep. Like he's the type, my dad, he's in his 70s now. If he's not totally entertained by what's on the television, he will nod off. And he nodded off during that Bears Lions game. And my wife, she looks over at my father, who was unconscious. I had to check his pulse. He was fine, thankfully. She looks over at my father. Then she looks over at me, and I'm like pounding my fist because I lost the bet, but I had Chicago minus, it was either -3 or 2.5. They won the game by 2, so they completely screwed me. Nagy should have been fired even before getting back to the locker room with the way he managed that the game-winning field goal. They should have gone for the touchdown there. It was very selfish the way that he wanted to win that game only by 2 points. And like my wife couldn't believe how entertained I was by one of the worst football games ever. When you have action, it's a completely different experience watching a game. You've got player props. You've got someone against the spread. It's a close game, even if it's a 13-10 game or whatever it was. Or no, it was like I don't even remember what the final. So 14-12. I know they won the game by 2 and they needed to win by 3 or more. You can make it entertaining with action. And our friends at thedailystakes.com, which is an awesome partner here for us on Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, they will change the way that you bet on sports, and they will change it for the better, pun intended. Now, I know that you guys know me as the mush, but when I follow the advice of Nick, Dylan, and Mass at the Daily Stakes, I do a lot better than when I'm left to my own devices, okay? They empower you with the same analytics used by the sharps and the sports books. Their founders are big sports fans, of course. You have to be in the sports betting space, but they also come from professional backgrounds in financial modeling, corporate consulting, and data analytics. So you get a great combination because they understand all aspects of the sports betting industry inside and out, from the eye test to the analytics to the trends, and they know how to harness this knowledge to give you the edge you need to win. They offer comprehensive coverage of all the major sports leagues that we all know and love, including the NFL, the NBA, and we got a big one tonight for the Miami Heat, the NHL, Major League Baseball, and the UFC, which I love. Most importantly, their track record is proven and transparent. I've heard from some of these so-called wise guys in the sports betting space where they'll rattle off their picks on a Saturday and they'll go 2-3. And then on Monday, they're like, yeah, did you see that? We went 5-0 on our picks. We never lose. Like, oh, there's a lot of grifters out there in the sports betting space. But our guys from the Daily Stakes are not grifters. They bring it strong, and their track record is transparent. You can track all of their picks. Members of their site, if you become a member, you unlock exclusive perks like weekly giveaways and contests. And when you become a member, guys, these are the best deals that I've seen. Sincerely, you can unlock an all sports trial for 7 days for just 99 cents. So you can try out every feature on the site for literally $1 and see if you like it, if it works for you. And if it doesn't, no problem, cancel it. If you do like it, you can lock in either the sports league of your choice, like the NFL or the NBA, for just $14.99 a month, or the best deal of them all, the all sports plan for $29.99 per month. Play smarter, bet smarter with the Daily Stakes. Sign up at thedailystakes.com. And we bring on one of the great minds here from the Daily Stakes. This man, he opened up my eyes to the magical world of player props. That was an aspect of my betting game that I was neglecting way, way, way too much before I started to get picks from Massimo. Mass from the Daily Stakes joins us. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. Yourself, Alex? Thanks for having me on again.
I'm doing really well. How'd you do, Sunday and Thursday? How'd you do with those player props?
I didn't check my player props this weekend. I've been kind of the one I did keep track of, obviously, because I have a personal stake in that with the team. Jonathan Taylor got his touchdown, which, I think he was off on the rushing by only 2 yards. I had him on the over at 85. He got stuck at 83. He needed like 3 more yards to cover. But it was a rough game for the Colts in terms of getting the run going. They abandoned it early, and they kind of just focused on Wentz until towards the end there. The only upsetting thing was Leonard Fournette going off for 3 or 4 touchdowns when I had him for the player prop last Monday, and watched that touch. I was sitting in the office with Dylan. We were we're working on some new stuff for our customers, and we're looking at the TV and we see Ronald Jones, after I had said he's the more talented back and he lost his spot as the starter, just vulture a touchdown from like 10 yards out from Leonard Fournette. Yeah, he ruined my perfect streak last week. I went 5 for 6 because of him.
Wow, you've been on an absolute tear, and I want to get into Monday Night Football tonight, which is not a great game. But as I pointed out, when you have action, bad games can be great games for you. And someone in the chat, the Raging Dolphins Maniac, made a fair point as well. 2 evenly matched teams can make good games, even if it's too bad or too good. And that's fair as well, man. I mean, listen, sometimes I'll watch like FCS college football games, and if either of those teams were playing Alabama, they would lose 100-0, but they're on the same level. They can make for entertaining matchups. You're certainly right. But before we get into the NFL, I want to get into the NBA first, Mass, because tonight is one I've been waiting for a while, because back on, I think it was on November 8th, the Miami Heat played the Nuggets in Denver, and they got their asses kicked. It was a very poor performance. You had the whole Nikola Jokic, Marquise Morris situation, which got everybody talking, but it was disappointing. We've been waiting 3 weeks for the rematch. It is happening tonight, and the Heat have been very up and down. I chat with your partner, Nick, quite a bit, who's a big NBA fan from the Daily Stakes, and he'll always ask me, like, hey, what's going on with the Heat? Just when I think that they're on, they have kind of a letdown performance. They got a nice win over Chicago over the weekend. What do you think for tonight? Yeah, big win. So home game tonight for the Heat, rematch with the Nuggets. What and who do you like there?
Well, since their loss to the Nuggets, they've been 6-1 against the spread at home, the Heat. So that's an interesting stat, and the Nuggets aren't very good. They're 2-6 against the spread on the road. They got a long list of injuries, the Nuggets, and they've been reeling. They're at I think a 6-game losing skid of sorts. We like the under on points here, 208.5. We got that, and I'm liking the Heat at -7, but I think it'll be a tight one. It's a bit Against the spread's a bit trickier, but I think the under is gonna come through on this one, considering the firepower that the Nuggets are lacking.
Yeah.
I think Tyler Harrow's also been ruled out for the Heat. He's not dressing tonight. I think I have him for fantasy and NBA fantasy. So
he's been so good for you this year.
He's been fantastic, and it's 2 games in a row now that I got him sitting. So it's unfortunate.
And by the way, you're 100% right. I just see the update from 7 minutes ago. So you must have been reading the tea leaves or reading it before I brought you in. As of 7 minutes ago, Tyler Hero was just ruled out. Actually, I think it happened about an hour ago, so you probably saw it then. And Nikola Jokic is questionable. And I said, and Jimmy Butler is questionable as well. But I said this mass about Jokic because he was involved in that whole situation where he blindsided Markieff Morris. Morris had fouled him very hard, but Jokic was dirty in the retaliation. And I said it then. It would not surprise me if he, for whatever reason, doesn't end up playing in the rematch. So he's questionable. I'm kind of expecting him to sit this one out because, if he plays, it could be a brawl.
They're saying that he's dealing with a wrist issue. So they're considering the week they have coming up. They're playing Wednesday, Saturday, so it's going to be a couple of short times in between. So they might actually bench Jokic. It's expected that he's sitting this one out, but we'll see what happens closer to game time. It could get interesting if he does play, though, especially considering what happened the last time out in Denver. So,
yeah, if he does play tonight, I hope the Heat start Udonis Haslem so that
get him in his face.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know the deal, man. You know the deal.
Course.
So I want to ask you about Monday Night Football tonight. And listen, not the best looking game on paper, but you guys have been killing it with your picks and your props. So we have the Seattle Seahawks on the road at Washington Football Team, 3-7 Seahawks at the 4-6 WFT. Washington, though, they've impressed me at times this season. The win that they had against the Buccaneers a couple of weeks ago was pretty eye-opening, the way that their offense was on the field for like 13 straight minutes in the fourth quarter. It's the Seahawks favored by a point on the road in Washington. What do you like in this game, and do you have any of those famous player props for us?
The Washington Football Team have been impressive, and that's the key thing you said there, especially against Tampa Bay. And the last minutes of the game, the last thing you want to do is give Tom Brady time on the clock. So when you're on for 13 minutes, Tom Brady can't really work his magic towards the end of the fourth quarter to kind of get something going there. The Seahawks are 5-5 against the spread this season, so they're not looking very good, and they haven't been very impressive the last 2 games either. Russell Wilson hasn't thrown for a touchdown since he got back from the bye week.
That's right.
They got shut out against Green Bay, barely put up points right after against Arizona, and they had Colt McCoy basically run wild on them with their receiving core out in Arizona. But the spreads basically, I saw them at -1 and +1 going into this game on our end. It's a pick 'em at this point. So whether you're playing the money line or the spread here, it doesn't really matter. Just pick a team and roll with it. I think this is one of those games where Seattle does need a bounce back because they've been looking wholly unimpressive since the bye week. I'm really liking Seattle on this one, so I take the Seattle Seahawks straight up. You're getting them at 108, -108 on the payout, so it's not the worst. And for player props, I got Antonio Gibson under 65.5 rushing yards. He's going up as unimpressive as the Seattle defense has looked. In terms of the rush, they're 11th in the league in rushing yards allowed. So I'm really liking this one. Antonio Gibson struggles against top 10 defenses. So I think he's only rushed over 65.5 yards, I think, twice in facing top 10 defenses this season. So I'm liking the Antonio Gibson under the 65.5 rushing yards here as the player prop.
I like that a lot. I like both of those picks. And actually, you really caught my attention when you said Seahawks at -108, because that's really good. I mean, you usually the juice is like -110 at least. So I like that line a lot. I'm going to lock that in.
That line opened up a lot higher, and they kind of adjusted. I guess they're expecting this one to be a bit of not a snoozer, but they're not expecting it to. They're expecting it to be closer than it really should be.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, really good stuff here, and congratulations! I saw Roma picked up a victory over the weekend,
And you're in Montreal. What like I'm so in the dark on this. Do they have a new coach? What's going on there? Because I see you I see you complaining, and you're probably right about this, that they prioritize bringing in a coach who's bilingual, French and English, over actually getting the right guy, which is kind of absurd.
It's been the story with the city. They politicized language because it's something that just happens in this province and within this city.
Hmm.
We hired a new GM. We got Gordon. He was last with the New York Rangers. He's going to be our head of, I think, hockey ops. So we got him in. We don't have a GM candidate yet. There's been rumors swirling that it's probably going to be Patrick Roy or Roberto Luongo, which to me doesn't make any sense. I love Roberto Luongo, hometown kid, did great for your Florida Panthers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I can't remember if he's ever had a job in basically hockey admin, so I don't know how he would do. So. It's been really weird. I think they're keeping the coach. They haven't fired the coach. It's just been all the up level. They've been cleaning house up top. So it's going to be interesting to see. They just had a press conference earlier today asking questions to the team owner, Jeff Molson, about hiring Gordon, an American, and not someone who speaks French. And he completely ignored the question. I think he's also fed up about the whole language situation going on. Yeah. We got to go with best available. I don't care if he speaks Mandarin at this point. Get a translator. Like, if it's going to translate into a better team and more wins, I really don't care.
Yeah, for real, man. Listen, you and I both know, because we're both big soccer fans, and you see like teams around Europe will hire coaches that speak whatever language. They only speak French. They only speak English. They don't speak English, and like, you find a way to communicate. Just get the right person. They'll find a way to do the job.
For sure, and a lot of coaches have actually just learned the native language of whatever league they're coaching in, so it does happen. Speaking of which, big game coming up this Saturday. I mean, Roma's got a midweek matchup against Bologna, but we got Inter, and we're without Pellegrini, so it might favor you guys a little.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, because and it's going to be, of course, going up against Jose Mourinho. It's going to be a little emotional. I might I don't feel most people saying, "Oh yeah, I hate that bloke," because a lot of Manchester United fans. But no, I'm an Inter supporter. He won a treble with Inter. I've got nothing but love for Mourinho, so I might shed a tear watching that this weekend. Inter have been in good form lately. Roma have been in decent form in their own right, so it should be a good match.
Is it the first time he plays Inter again since leaving?
Yeah, I think it's got to be.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to someone on Twitter, or someone in Roma Twitter, and we couldn't figure it out. We've been kind of doing some mental gymnastics trying to.
I might have to think about it, but I don't think in any of the clubs he coached around Spain and England that he's faced them. But I will not. Now that you bring it up, I'll have to double check it, because I'm pretty sure it is, but I've been wrong before.
Yeah, I'm curious. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, well, good stuff, man. Mass from the Daily Stakes. Where can people follow you on Twitter? And, of course, where can they find the Daily Stakes? You can see thedailystakes.com, but social media, where can they find you guys?
Social media, we're at the Daily Stakes across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm at Mass148 on Twitter. And we're basically working on some new products for you guys, mostly focusing on some player props, because we know that a lot of people have been kind of lacking on the player prop front of things. So we got something in the works there for everyone. On the player prop front, we're going to roll it out sometime in the new year, hopefully.
Oh, really good stuff, man. And give my best to Dylan and Nick as well. Mass, thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you again soon.
Take care, Alex. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. So I'm going to go through the roll call for a minute, because we've gotten it's been a busy show. We've gotten a ton of awesome messages from the people in the chat. I want to make sure I acknowledge you guys. There's probably some really good ones that I haven't even read yet. Something that I was told about Mario Cristobal this morning. You may have seen that his current offensive coordinator, Joe Moorhead in Oregon, is likely leaving to become the new Akron head coach. And I was told that apparently that was somebody that Mario would not have brought with him to Miami anyway if he does come. So, maybe Moorhead going to Akron is fine, because that's, not going to affect his decision either way to stay in Oregon or leave Oregon. But it's also not going to affect his plans for a coaching staff in Miami, because that wasn't a guy he wanted to bring with him. I hope it's Cristobal. I know that there are certainly going to be a lot of disappointed Canes fans, myself included, if they stay the status quo with the head coach. I am not expecting it, unless I think the only way that they would stay with Diaz is if they just run out the clock too much. If they wait too long, because it sounds to me like Julio Frank and his advisors want to bring in a new athletic director first to make the decision on Manny. So I'd like to believe they're in the final stages of hiring an AD, but for whatever reason, if they're not and it drags on too long, maybe Mario decides I've got to commit to Oregon if you're not going to bring me anytime soon. Maybe Lane Kiffin decides on another job, or he gets the bag, more money to stay in Oxford. And then Miami just decides, you know what? We botched it. They'd never admit that, of course. But if they just decide we kind of botched this now, we're not going to get somebody we really want, so let's stay with Diaz for another year. I think that would have to be the way that this goes. I think that as long as they get the AD done quickly, and yeah, from everything we're hearing now, and Barry Jackson wrote a great piece about it in the Herald this morning, it could end up being one of these former legendary players that apparently Gino Torretta was very impressive in his interview. He interviewed for the job, as did Alonso Highsmith. Apparently Gino was very impressive. And I've heard that Alonso Highsmith could actually be considered the front runner right now. And that if either of those two gentlemen were to get the job, and Torretta is a successful businessman, and Alonso Highsmith has been a successful NFL personnel guy and executive for about 20 years now. So I think that they're qualified enough to grow into the job, neither of which have relevant direct experience as an AD. So there would be a learning curve there that if either of them were hired, they would have to bring in or lean on a career administrator, like someone to kind of, walk them through the protocols of the job, but that their focus would be football. And as you know, I'm also a basketball fan and baseball fan at the U, but football is king at Miami. And I'm a firm believer, if you sort out your business in football, the trickle-down effect will benefit the other sports as well, because football is the cash cow. Football is what brings all the eyes and attention and money to Miami, and that would benefit all the other programs if you can get your house in order football-wise. Perfect Q, right, saying Lane Kiffin maybe. I wouldn't mind Lane at whatsoever. Cristobal is my top choice. Lane is a close second. I can tell you this, okay? If Miami were to announce this week that they're giving the job to Lane Kiffin, even though he's not my top choice, I would sleep very comfortably that night. And I would, if I physically could, because even when I was a kid, I couldn't do cartwheels. If I could figure out how to do a cartwheel, I would be doing cartwheels around my house if they hired Lane Kiffin. And that's even though he's my second choice, not my first choice. Cristobal is my first choice because I think Cristobal is arguably the best recruiter in the country. And I think that there's just with Mario, there's a higher probability. If you can get him down here, there's a higher probability he stays here for a long period of time, right? I mean, somewhere between 5 years, a decade, or even longer, if I can be so greedy. Whereas Lane Kiffin, if he does a good job in Miami, which is great if he wins here, right? If he gets a Heisman Trophy winner and gets Miami in a college football playoff, that's a job well done. But Kiffin's always looking for the next job. So that would be my concern there, where I don't think Mario would have that type of mentality. How worried are we if Lane Kiffin gets the OU job? And anything's possible because Kiffin is a damn fine coach. So he's going to have some options here. Unless something's changed in the recent hours, I think OU are actually looking hard at Cliff Kingsbury with the Cardinals. And, he's doing fine there, but I think Kingsbury probably understands I'm more of a college coach than an NFL coach. And for an offensive-minded guy who loves quarterbacks especially, Oklahoma is one of the best places to be. And you could say that about Lane as well, that Lane Kiffin, it seems like he would fit in Oklahoma like a glove. I think Kingsbury even more so. So if they're really going to go after Kingsbury, why would you leave the NFL for college? Well, Nick Saban did it, right? I mean, and Oklahoma is a big job. So that would not surprise me. Oh, thank you for noticing. TH from the 203, he did identify, and actually it's pretty clear to see it there, even though I got to figure, I don't know how to, the shades on that window are broken, so I can't close it to keep that extra sunlight in. So it really whitewashes that jersey. But yeah, you can pretty clearly see for the longtime Dolphins fans that is a Gus Frerotte Dolphins jersey. And it's actually, if you just tuned in late, it is a game-worn autographed Gus Frerotte jersey. I'm probably the only person on planet Earth who has a game-worn autographed Gus Frerotte jersey. And I know a lot of people will get autographed jerseys framed, but why would I pay the money to frame a Gus Frerotte jersey? It is what it is. The jersey just stays loose, okay? Cliff Kingsbury hates recruiting, though. Maybe you're right. I would think he loves recruiting because that is one handsome fella, and he gets into that living room and he can impress those moms, right? Because as soon as the moms see Cliff Kings, the guy's a GQ model. Like he's more handsome than some GQ models. I would think he would love recruiting because all the mom, would you like some more lemonade, hon? Can I get you anything? Like, oh my God, that must be a lot of fun for him. Oh man, Wheezy, Marla just texted. I hope you have laundered that Gus Frerotte jersey. It was laundered. Yeah, it wasn't like fresh off the turf, so it was game worn, and then I believe it was laundered by the team, and then autographed and sold to me. But yeah, it doesn't smell funky or anything. So and he did start the game that jersey is from. So it probably would smell something fierce, or at least it would have 16 years ago when the jersey was new. But no, I believe that it was laundered cleanly. So yeah, I think that'll do it for today. I'm hoping that at some point this week we have a new AD, potentially a new head coach that we can talk about in terms of the Miami Hurricanes on tomorrow's show. Tomorrow's show is going to be wild. Okay, tomorrow's show is going to be absolutely wild. We're going to have Brady Hawk on to review whatever happens in Heat Nuggets tonight. Hopefully a Heat dub and revenge after that last game. Hopefully a Heat dub here tonight. And tomorrow we're going to talk with Brady Hawk to review the Heat game, and we're going to talk to Tua Tagovailoa. We're going to get into some truths that the globalists, the elites, the Illuminati. Listen, if you're listening to this right now, my friends, you're part of the resistance here. They don't want us to understand a few things. George Soros, if they're listening, Bohemian Grove, Hillary Clinton, all the powers that be, the elites, Jeff Bezos, he doesn't want you to hear this kind of stuff, folks. So we're going to get down to the anti-Tua conspiracies with Tua tomorrow. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have to do the interview from international waters. The show could get shut down. I could be imprisoned. I could get canceled, which I think is even worse. Like, isn't getting canceled by the internet, that's worse than going to prison, I think. So I don't want either of those things to happen. So we will be very, very careful. I have not heard this, if this is a thing. He asked me, any chance Butch Davis would become the Canes AD and pull a Barry out? I mean, no, there's not a chance of that. I don't know if that's just a scenario you came up with or if somebody on the internet told you that was going to happen. There is a less than zero chance that would happen. No, he's not. He's not going to be the one to pull the Barry Alvarez. I'm telling you. So huge. TH from the 203. Thank you so much for tuning in. Raging Dolphins Maniac. Thank you so much. I was glad I forgot about Gus Frerotte. Gus Frerotte actually had an okay year. 9-7 under Saban. That was actually a good one-off season for Gus Frerotte. He was not bad whatsoever. Perfect Q. Thank you so much for watching. David, thank you so much for tuning in. Estefan, fins up. Donno, do you feel it? The winds of change. I feel the winds of Tagovailoa. I am a Tua stan again. Anyone tuning in late, you missed my confession. I was, when Tua was drafted, full-on Tua stan. Early part of this season, when he kept getting hurt, I became a Tua skeptic. After seeing what he did, the performance he put on yesterday against the top pass defense in the NFL, I am a full-on Tua stan again. I no longer tolerate Tagovailoa slander. I am a full-on Tua stan. I hope you're speaking this into existence, Ronald. Welcome home, Mario. I hope. I am keeping my fingers crossed. I don't see the white smoke from the Vatican just yet, but I'm hoping something like that happens. Bishop Sycamore's finest, thank you so much for tuning in. Zachary B., who's been slandering Justin Turdbert. Funny. I like that. That's been good. Zach Tromp, thank you so much for tuning in. JP, coming to Coral Gables. I think he's talking about Cristobal. Wow. This is like everything that I hate in one message. You got a Knicks avatar. I am a Dolphin, so I will let the Dolphin 82 slide. But this is a Gators fan with a New York Knicks avatar. If you weren't a Dolphins fan, I would kick your ass right out of here. But thank you so much for watching. Let's see. Who else? I want to throw out some shout outs without repeats. Andrew Harris. Happy. He's happy. I'm happy. Manny Chang is happy. We're all happy. Terry Pierre, thank you so much. Even though Terry Pierre, I was as polite as I possibly could be to him, even though he is a non-Tua believer. All right, we'll wrap it up on that note. Devin Jordan was also in Big Dan 305. I think we got to run here. The Fins Tailgate TFTG. Huge shout out and thank you to Mass. Huge shout out and thank you. Oh wait, you know what? I think Manny. Hold on, I can throw some more shout outs because I think what happened was I had a private message from Manny Chang asking me to please wrap because I think he had to leave, but he's gone. So I'm going to end the stream myself. So I'm going to keep talking for a couple more minutes, throw out some more thank yous. Fins Fan Tailgate TFTG, which I think is our guy Chris Adams. He's also got a show on YouTube. I was watching a recent episode, so check out Chris. Check out the Fins Fan the Fins Tailgate. I want to make sure I say that properly so people know where to find him. Check out his show, man. He works hard, does a good job. The Fins Tailgate. Check him out. Joseph Rodriguez, thank you so much. Orlando writes in, why is it Butch Davis in the conversation for head coach? I don't want to sound like an ageist, but I want somebody considerably younger than Butch is right now. And also, I don't think the BOT and certain people in positions of power like Butch enough. I mean, the fact that since he left Miami, he's tried to come back at least twice, and they basically shut him out. I don't see why that would change now, right? I think he wanted to come back before he went to FIU. He wanted to come back after his time at UNC, I think, or even actually before he started UNC. I think he wanted to come back after Larry Coker, and yeah, it's not going to happen. I think that ship has really sailed anyway. I don't think that today's Butch is the same Butch of 10 years ago. No disrespect to the elderly, but no, I'm looking at candidates in their 40s and 50s at this point. I think that's the right way to go here. Huge shout out and thank you to David. Thank you so much for tuning in. I see David in here often. Thank you. Well, he's a regular often. He's here more than I am. I want to send a huge shout out to Pride 909. You know what frustrates me? It's about Cam Newton not doing well. Not Miami caused it. Not Miami causing Jackson to look bad too. Can't be the Miami defense, huh? That's a great point. Obviously, someone like me who's a little bit Dolphins biased and watches the Dolphins defense very closely, I'm going to give credit to the Miami Dolphins for making Lamar Jackson look terrible and for making Cam Newton look like an amateur, okay? And he got benched yesterday. Now, Cam was not good, but you're right. I mean, the Dolphins defense and their blitzes and their knack for causing turnovers, people do not give them enough credit. You are 1,000% right about that. I've seen enough of Manny, writes Big Dan 305. Thank you for tuning in, Big Dan 305. And that will about do it. That will about do it for today. A huge thank you to everyone who tuned in. Again, I want to throw out a thank you to our guests from today, the great Alfredo Artiaga and the great Mas Richo from thedailystakes.com. Everybody, make sure you are supporting our awesome sponsors, the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. I'm going to get back out there very soon. We're going to have another watch party at a different Quarterdeck location really soon. This is the perfect spot to watch all the big games, whether you're there for a football Sunday, NBA games, NHL games on a weeknight. It is the best spot, my friends. The seafood is always fresh. The burgers and sandwiches are legit. The 2-for-1 happy hour is all day, every day, 2-for-1 drinks. And they have every UFC pay-per-view fight, by the way, at the Quarterdeck for zero cover charge. You pay nothing at the door to watch a UFC pay-per-view fight. To find the location nearest to you or peep their menu before you go, visit them on the web at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. And BetUS, yes, you can use it in Florida. I've been using BetUS for almost a year now, and I will never switch back. BetUS.com. It is America's favorite sports book. They're in their 27th NFL season. I think that little app that opened up lasted for about 27 days. BetUS.com has been around for 27 years. Guys, if you sign up at BetUS.com with our code, we give you the best bonus in the industry. You're not going to find a better bonus than 125% with our code 5RSN125. Sign up with our code 5RSN125. If you deposit $100, they're going to give you $125 of free play money on top of your deposit. Deposit $1,000, they'll give you $1,250 in free play money on top of your deposit. It is the way to go, my friends. Bet on sports, horses, play in their casino. It's like having Las Vegas in your pocket. Pop culture props as well at betus.com. You bet, you win, you get paid. Betus.com with our code 5RSN125. All right, that'll do it for us, my friends. We will talk to you again tomorrow. If things go a certain way with our Tua Non interview, it could be the last time you see me. I don't want to get canceled or imprisoned, but the truth is too important. And Tua Non will be joining us tomorrow, and Brady Hawk will be joining. I don't think Brady would be the guy to get me canceled and imprisoned. I think it would probably be Tua Non, but we're going to have that tomorrow. I will talk to you guys then. This has been another episode of Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Ciao.